Palantir is in a different spotlight today. The US government is restricting it now. People are scared. Analysts are dropping their signals. But here's the thing. There's another reason why this won't matter that much. And this might be the light at the end of the tunnel. What is happening? And what on earth am I even talking about? Well, let me explain. Disclaimer. Palantir's stock took a little dip earlier today. A bit of a correction. But here's the thing. It didn't take long before it started climbing back up slowly. And why? Because today was packed with massive Palantir news. I mean, huge headlines. But the biggest one? The US government just hit the brakes on Palantir. Yeah, you heard that right. They're slowing things down a bit, and that's raising a few eyebrows. Now that might sound like a bad thing at first, but hold on. With how Palantir is moving lately, how fast they're scaling and expanding their reach, this speed bump might barely leave a scratch. If anything, it's a temporary pause in an otherwise rocket-fueled journey. And if you're someone who believes in Palantir's long-term vision, this is exactly the kind of moment you watch closely, because dips like this, they don't last forever. That's why it's important to make sure you've got your Palantir bag ready. And guess what? Today, we're actually giving away Palantir stocks for free. No catch. All you gotta do is click the link in the description, follow the simple steps, and you could be adding Palantir to your portfolio without spending a dime. Now let's talk about what all of today's drama actually means for Palantir's price chart. One well-known analyst laid it out pretty clearly. He pointed out that Palantir just broke below a key moving average for the first time since early April. That's a big deal, because it signals a shift in short-term momentum. This isn't just a random one-day drop. It could keep sliding a bit more. Some targets being thrown around are in the low 110s, maybe even just above the 100 mark. But here's the good news. If it does get down there, it's not a red flag, it's a golden entry. A second chance for anyone who missed out when Palantir made that wild reversal run a few weeks back. Because the bigger picture, it still looks incredible. The weekly chart shows a strong cup and handle pattern forming. And if that plays out, we could easily see Palantir heading up to the 160 range by the end of summer. So yes, the short term might be a little rocky. It might not be the moment to jump into short-term calls unless we see a clear reversal. But if you're here for the long haul, this is nothing but noise. The momentum, the partnerships, the AI push, it's all still on track. So you might be wondering, what actually just happened here? Well, here's the scoop, and it's a wild one. Republican privacy advocates in Congress are now criticizing the Trump administration over its growing partnership with Palantir. Yep, you heard that right. It's not Democrats raising the alarm this time. It's folks from Trump's own party pushing back. And the reason? It's all about data. Back in March, President Trump signed an order that told federal agencies to break down the barriers that stop data from being shared and connected. Basically, the green light to merge massive pools of government data. But even before that, Palantir had already been expanding its AI footprint inside the US government, working to build a massive interagency database that could combine everything from health records to financial info, all in one place. Now, to be clear, this is exactly what Palantir was built for. Their tech is all about helping governments and companies make sense of their data, and do it at scale, especially now that AI tools have gotten so powerful. The US government has always been behind the private sector when it comes to making sense of big data, but Palantir's tech is closing that gap fast. Still, some lawmakers are not having it. Representative Warren Davidson, a Republican from Ohio, went as far as calling it dangerous. He warned that combining so many data points into one giant database is basically creating a digital ID for every American. And that kind of power, he says, almost always ends up being abused. He even compared it to that one ring to rule them all from the Lord of the Rings, and said the only good thing to do with it is destroy it. Dramatic? Maybe. But it shows just how seriously some people are taking this. What's even more surprising is that this kind of pushback is rare inside the Republican Party right now. There haven't been many voices challenging the Trump administration lately. Not on spending, not on tariffs, not even on crypto. So the fact that a Republican is going this hard against Palantir's government work, that's big. Now, does that mean Palantir's role in the government is about to get shut down? Not likely. At least not anytime soon. Peter Thiel, one of Palantir's co-founders, is a close ally of Vice President J.D. Vance, and Palantir has deep roots in Washington at this point. Davidson says he wants to shut it down by including new language in next year's reauthorization of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. But whether he can rally enough support remains to be seen. So what does this all mean? Honestly, it shows how important Palantir is becoming. When you're changing the game this much, bringing next-gen AI into the heart of government operations, you're going to get some resistance. And in a weird way, that resistance is just more proof that Palantir is already doing something huge. Yes, there are concerns about privacy, but from an investor's point of view, this just highlights how central Palantir is becoming to the future of how data is managed, analyzed, and used at the highest levels. That's not just business, that's infrastructure. And in the long run, that kind of positioning is exactly why bullish sentiment on Palantir stays strong. So yeah, today brought some tension and political pushback, but it also confirmed one thing loud and clear. Palantir is right at the center of some of the biggest transformations happening in tech and government. And that's exactly where you want to be. And here's another reason why, when you zoom out and look long-term, Palantir is looking brighter than ever. They just dropped some big news today. A brand new partnership with teletracking that's about to shake up the healthcare industry in a major way. So what's going on here? Hospitals and healthcare systems are under massive pressure right now. They're being told to do more, treat more patients, coordinate more care, and be more efficient. But without building new hospitals or adding more beds. That's a tough challenge. But that's exactly where this Palantir teletracking partnership comes in. Teletracking already has deep expertise in managing hospital operations. We're talking about the flow of patients, staff coordination, all the behind-the-scenes stuff that keeps hospitals running. Now they're teaming up with Palantir to take it all to the next level. By combining Teletracking's Operations IQ platform with Palantir's Foundry and AIP, they're building an AI-powered, data-driven command center for hospitals. We're talking near real-time insights that can help healthcare providers make smarter, faster decisions. Whether it's managing staff schedules, patient flow, or even predicting demand before it happens. With this new system, hospitals can now connect the dots between clinical, financial, and operational data. That means they'll be able to see what's going on across their entire system, not just in one department or one building. Everything from patient beds to staff availability to supply chain logistics. It's all connected, all visible, and all optimized using AI. And here's the kicker. This doesn't just improve outcomes for patients. It also reduces the stress on nurses and caregivers and improves the financial health of hospitals. That's a win-win-win. So what does this mean for Palantir right now? It shows, once again, that Palantir is not just some defense contractor or government data partner. They're scaling fast across critical industries. Healthcare is one of the most complex, regulated, and high-stakes sectors out there. And now, Palantir is positioning itself as a key player in transforming it. Think about what this says about Palantir's strategy. They're not just chasing short-term contracts. They're building long-term infrastructure. They're planting roots in healthcare, energy, manufacturing, finance. And their AI-native platforms are doing what no one else in the space can match right now, making sense of chaos. Even in the middle of short-term price noise, this is the stuff that builds billion-dollar value over time. These partnerships are sticky, they're deep, and once a system like this is built into the core of how a hospital operates, it doesn't go away. So yeah, a little correction on the stock today? Whatever. Palantir is scaling. Fast. And if they keep landing partnerships like this, you better believe the long-term upside is just getting started. But what is your opinion on this? Comment down below. If you are curious to find more, then make sure to click. Today is one of the biggest days for Palantir. Earnings report has just been dropped, and the numbers are quite shocking. Analysts are dropping their warnings. People became skeptical, and some were scared. However, it seems like these are only noise and lies around, because Wall Street just went straight right in and dropped massive moves. Moves that can push Palantir to $1 trillion company, and they're not stopping soon. What is happening? And why Palantir will have a breakthrough soon? Well, let me explain. Disclaimer. Today is huge for Palantir. We just got the Q1 earnings report for 2025, and wow, it's got the entire community buzzing. Reactions? Mixed. Some are optimistic, some are straight up panicking. Why? Well, right after the report dropped, Palantir's stock price took a dive. That spooked a lot of investors. Analysts are saying things like, this might be the end, or the numbers just aren't lining up. You can feel the fear across the Palantir community. It's like everyone suddenly hit the panic button. But here's the twist. What if I told you that what's happening right now is actually the opposite? Like seriously bullish. And it feels like everything you're hearing now is just lies without any proof. According to Wall Street, this dip isn't the beginning of the end, but the calm before an explosive rally. Sounds wild, right? And it's not just a random statement. They're moving numbers according to it. And when that time comes, you'll want to have some Palantir stock ready to go. Good news. Today might just be your lucky day, because you can actually grab one Palantir stock absolutely for free right now. Just hit the link in the description below. No catch, no nonsense. Just a solid opportunity. But hold up. Before we get too deep into the future, let's look at what's freaking people out right now. Check out the price chart. So one analyst broke it down using what's called gap analysis. Basically, back in late April, Palantir broke through a key resistance level, around the mid-90s, and then jumped without looking back. It left a price gap behind, meaning it never came down to retest that zone. Now, after the earnings drop, if Palantir opens somewhere around the low 110s and slides down, there's a wide open area between there and that original breakout zone. And because there's not much price action or consolidation in that space, it could drop fast, like real fast, all the way back to that breakout area. But here's the key. That's not a bad thing. In fact, filling that gap could be one of the healthiest moves the stock could make. Why? Because buyers are just waiting in that lower zone, around where the gap started. That's where strong support comes in, and it's where Palantir could reload for the next move up. The real danger zone would be if it breaks below the low 90s. That's the line the bulls absolutely need to defend to keep the long-term uptrend alive. But honestly, the setup right now is textbook bullish. Big tech is adjusting after the news, volatility is up, and Palantir is just doing what strong stocks do, retesting before liftoff. This might just be the perfect setup for something huge. But here's the real question. Why did Palantir drop after what looked like a solid earnings report? Well, it comes down to expectations. Wall Street had sky-high hopes. And when that happens, even great results can fall flat. Palantir actually delivered strong numbers and even raised its forecast for the year. But for some investors, it just wasn't good enough. The stock had already been on a massive run, up over 60% this year alone, and that's on top of a huge rally last year. So going into this report, the bar was set incredibly high. As one analyst put it, we've now reached the point where solid earnings beats and raised guidance just aren't enough to push the stock higher, not when so many investors are already priced in perfection. It's like showing up with an A+ and being told it should have been an A++. Palantir is expected to lose nearly $20 billion in market value if these losses stick. But here's the thing. The business itself? Still booming. The company continues to ride that wave of AI demand and deep government partnerships. In fact, revenue from U.S. government contracts jumped nearly 50% year over year, and total revenue climbed close to 40%, beating analyst expectations. That kind of growth, especially in a seasonally quiet quarter, shows how strong demand really is. Analysts are saying the U.S. market is driving the bulk of these wins, locking in a ton of new million-dollar deals, the most they've ever done in a single quarter. Palantir even raised its full-year outlook, expecting to hit just under $4 billion in revenue, up from what they previously projected. And despite the drop, at least 7 major firms actually raised their price targets for the stock after the report. The new average target sits around the mid-90s. So why the dip? Well, a few analysts turned a bit bearish, not because the company is failing, but because the stock is now trading at pretty rich levels. One analyst pointed out that Palantir's price-to-sales ratio is sky-high, way above many of its peers. That kind of valuation puts extra pressure on every earnings report to blow expectations out of the water. On top of that, there's the ongoing concern about stock-based compensation. About 1/5 of Palantir's revenue is being paid out in stock. And while many tech companies do this, it still bugs some investors who see it as a drag on shareholder value. But here's the exciting part. All that noise, the fear, the panic, the dramatic sell-off, it might not matter at all. Because Wall Street just dropped a bunch of bombshells. And they're actually pointing to something much bigger. Palantir is in a breakthrough position. Right after earnings, several big-name analysts raised their price targets. And not just by a little. We're talking jumps from the 80s to the 90s, even over 100. Why? Because underneath the temporary market jitters, Palantir's numbers were strong. We're seeing record-breaking U.S. commercial deals, insane growth in government contracts, and acceleration in almost every part of the business. One analyst said the company is firing on nearly all cylinders. Another called out that demand is unrelenting, even in a typically slow quarter. And despite all the talk about valuation, these firms still raised their targets. Why? Because Palantir isn't just growing. It's becoming a core piece of how the US is adopting AI across healthcare, defense, energy, manufacturing, you name it. And if that wasn't enough, Dan Ives, went on BBC to say again what he's been saying for years. Palantir is a gem, and he's been a long-time believer that this company is heading toward a $1 trillion valuation. When someone with that much influence keeps doubling down, you pay attention. So yeah, some analysts are cautious about the stock's rich valuation. That's fair. But in the end, Wall Street sets the tone. They control the capital, they shape the sentiment, and they're the ones calling this a bullish setup, even in the face of short-term weakness. If Wall Street's backing Palantir, you better believe the story isn't over. It might just be getting started. And here's the thing. If you're still staring at Palantir's price chart thinking, why the drop? One analyst broke it down perfectly. He said, yeah, Palantir's getting crushed after hours, but honestly, it kind of makes sense. The stock had surged more than 80% in just the last month. That kind of run-up usually comes with a cool down. It's not about the business being weak, it's just how the market works. After a massive rally, people take profits. That's all it is. But here's the real kicker. Despite that dip, Palantir's fundamentals are rock solid. We're talking about a company with an incredible balance sheet, no debt weighing it down, and cash just sitting there ready to fuel more growth. And that growth? Still very much alive. Government deals are expanding, commercial demand is booming, and they're landing some of the biggest contracts in the company's history. So if you zoom out, the current state of Palantir is actually stronger than ever. The stock might be cooling off, but the business is heating up. And when price and fundamentals eventually realign, that's when the real breakout happens. So don't let the red candles fool you. This story is far from over. But what is your opinion on this? Comment down below. If you are curious to find more, then make sure to click on one of the videos you see on the screen. And with that, we come to the end of this video. If you enjoyed the video, then turn on the notifications bell on this channel. Missing an important Palantir update might make you lose money, so don't risk it. Also, please share this video with as many people as possible. Let's get this news out there.